very scared to invest in like a first property, right?
What I think is buy a good property in an area with a good data set that's poised for growth, right?
If someone says like, we go to a cliff and you have to jump into the water, I'm jumping in the water.
So can you replace a 2-bedroom apartment for $440,000 like they bought it off the plan in 2014? You can't get pregnant by not doing it.
Well, sometimes I wish it would take a bit longer than what it did. But go on, deep and personal, yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to the episode number 3 of Conversations with Andy Gee, and I have probably the best buyer's agent in Sydney with me right now, Michael Lezaja. Thank you for joining me.
That's a pretty good intro. I'd say best in the country, but you're pretty much spot on with everything.
Oh, hey man, I don't want to inflate the ego, right? Don't want to inflate the ego. No. How have you been, my friend? And do you want to introduce yourself? Tell the 20 subscribers that I have who you are.
Firstly, I appreciate all 20 of you, as does Andy. Look, I'm just a security guard who, wanted to invest in property to create wealth and ended up, investing in real estate, doing some renovations. And once upon a time, I bought, 14 properties in 12 months back in 2013. And then I turned that into a buyer's agent business. And now I help everyday investors scale their portfolio to be like the 1% who own 5 or more, as opposed to the 95% majority who only own 1 or 2 investment properties. So it's about hacking the system essentially and navigating through it, with my guidance and helping really just helping everyone get to their end goal. Everyone's got a different end goal, and that's what we help you achieve.
You've got how many properties?
A fair bit now, double digits.
Yeah, shiza. So yeah. I saw you on Channel 7. And I think that's how I started following you. And then you called me up about SEO years ago. Like things like, it could be 3 or 4 years ago now when you first called me about SEO. So I'm very scared to invest in like a first property, right? How do you like when I bought the current property I'm in, the equity that's grown, I've got the equity basically to reinvest, right?
Yeah.
And it's an emotional, you're going to bring up the family, and you kind of like, it's like psychologically, you're going into debt, and it's almost like you're trained to go into debt. Like the first one is like the family home is, you kind of expect it to do. The next property scares the crap out of me because then I start thinking about what's going to happen with my bills, what's going to happen if business goes a bit sour for a while. Yeah. Then you've got all these shonks on social media. Every guru is just living in my feed because I like you and I talk to you. I'm just completely with property buyers agents, with real estate agents, with mortgage brokers like Graham Homes on
there.
Yeah. I'm just completely.
But there's a lot.
How do I overcome the fear of buying the next property, Michael?
It's an interesting thing that comes from, I reckon, I've delved a lot into my childhood and why I'm the exact opposite, and I'm the risk taker and I will take risks. And I remember leveraging when I bought those 14 properties in that 12 months, I bought properties on credit cards, right? So each loan you get, they give you a 10 grand credit card. By the time I ended up getting all these credit cards in the drawer, I thought, I had a light bulb moment, and I was like, well, hang on a second. What if I empty all these credit cards and use them as a deposit, put it in another loan account and buy another property? So I was extremely risky, and that I was comfortable with that. And that comes from maybe my mum letting me, jig school, right? It was like I was relaxed with, risk. And I was always okay. I'd always take my parents' car and drive it around the block as a 12-year-old, right? So the personality was constructed from a young age, right? So now tell me how your childhood upbringing was, but did you have conservative parents, and did they perhaps?
Absolutely. I had your traditional Greek and Maltese parents. You buy one property and you live in it for the rest of your life and you don't do anything else.
There you go.
And then you die, right? That's like the achievement of buying it was good enough for them to buy one property. That was the achievement, right? That was the Australian dream. Right?
Yeah.
So watching my dad lose his business, growing up, watching that all take place and having to move, relocate and rent. I think my nature could, in some ways, like if someone says like we go to a cliff and you have to jump into the water, I'm jumping in the water.
You see how we've come back to childhood and how you just literally said how growing up I seen this.
Correct.
You see that? And it's affected you. Whereas I seen my dad I seen him sell 2 duplexes for like $150,000. They're now $900,000 a pop. Yeah. So mine's that experience. So I've chosen to look at it. Maybe it might be glass half full versus half empty, or some other type of technology.
You change your perspective, Michael. You change your life, and that's why you're going to get. I think that's why you have to get a good counsel around you. And I'm so happy that you reach out, because I'm going to try to get free information out of you today, right?
As much as you want, brother. As much as you want. Let me tell you one of my earliest memories of you, and I think it was more than 6 years ago. I think it was about 6 years ago.
2018, you called me.
And you were in an office in Barangaroo, you just being you and just in front of a whiteboard and you're just talking, and you were on camera, and I think you had a few extra kilos on you at the time as well. And mate, you were just SEO. And I'm like, this guy in my feed, I'm like, geez, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I was following you then, and you kept on telling me, do content. And I never wanted to do it to my own detriment. Looking back now, I look at my socials now, which I'm sure you've probably seen a dramatic change in.
Massive change. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, brother. And you always used to tell me.
It's a mindset, right? Like what you didn't want to go in front of the video, and I'm struggling to buy my first investment property. You don't have problems buying property. I don't have a problem getting my ugly mug on camera, and I've got a shit voice. I look like crap. I was very heavy at the time. I had bad lighting, bad audio, but I had a passion. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? And I went in with no expectation, Michael. Like before I went in, I was like, what do I want to build content for? Well, when I was working for eBay Marketing, like I had a team, and I had people asking me questions. I had a reputation in there, and I liked that. It fed the ego, and I liked the people coming to me asking questions and having that sort of status in the company. And then when I started working on my own, there's no status. You're at the bottom, and I'm eating 2-minute noodles. And it doesn't matter. At the time, I had 12, 13 years experience in SEO, and then I'm the most passionate guy. But I'm like, I might become my own best kept secret there. Not to sound like an arrogant twit, right? But I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm just going to go on camera and be myself. And if I win one client in SEO, that's a big deal, right? That's a life cycle of revenue for a long. It's not just them buying a packet of chips. Like they're going to come and invest with you. Then you got referral fees and all the rest of it. So I'm like, look, what's the worst that can happen? Nothing. Well, that's in the same predicament I'm in now, right? So I need to get clients. I need to try something. And then everyone kept telling me, you sound like this Gary V guy. And then I checked on who's this Gary V? Man, I remember sitting in my office arguing with people in 2008 to my clients, you need to build content for the blog. If you don't create content, you're not speaking to anybody. You're just like my dad, who's relying on word of mouth and watching him go out of business, right? You have to show the world. You have to demonstrate value. Now, I kind of knew that on a very little in an SEO landscape, and that's obviously evolved now. And now you see Gary's, you see everyone talking about, like, content is not secret. In 2008, it was not many people talking about it. And to my detriment, I didn't even get on Facebook in 2008 and 9 when it was very small, it was only for university, like nerds. My mum wasn't on it for many, many years later where the game was changed. And I used to get a lot of good traction from it organically. This is the time, Michael, you could post something on Facebook and people would, in 2008 and 9, you could just say something. People were like, you get reach organically like LinkedIn and so forth that gives you that bit of opportunity now. So for me, I'm like, well, I might as well have a crack at it. And that's what landed the relationship I have with you. And all my best content that I try to build now has landed me actually some significant has been on LinkedIn. I've never made any clients, any sales on Facebook, but I've gained relationships such as yours. And that's value to me. It may not necessarily be monetary value, but it's relationships. And that's what I am. At the core of my human being, I'm an extrovert, autistic, neurodivergent individual that needs to build relationships with people in order to function and be happy in society. So So that's what social. So I'm like, well, fuck it. If people don't like me, if they think and because I got bullied at school with my voice, that's always played on my mind. Oh, you're going to sound like shit. No one's going to want to listen to you, and all the doubts. But then I go back to, but what do I want to achieve? What am I hoping for? Am I trying to be prime minister here? I'm just trying to go on and talk a bit of shit about SEO. That I would have sat in the office with a client and said the same thing on a whiteboard. So I want to just go up there and
but you can't. You did well, and you were the first person that was telling me how important content was. And I didn't want to listen. A lot of people weren't listening back then about how important content was at the time. It's we're seeing it now, and mate, I can definitely say throughout the whole time of knowing you, you haven't told me anything that was incorrect ever. You nailed everything spot on. And it's just a matter of me, adapting and really, I suppose, focusing on what I need to do to get out of my comfort zone. And all the progress is out of my comfort zone that I've made, recently. So, yeah.
And you overcoming. I mean, I saw the one with you're a funny guy now. Believe me, I'm not a funny person, so that. Like I might be extroverted, but being funny and trying to be funny when you're not funny is like the worst thing you do, but you are funny.
I've got a cousin like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I know how it is.
We all got a cousin we've got an uncle like that. No, but in all seriousness, like it's like you're funny, like you're good on camera, like with the real estate agent, your shorts, your videos.
Yeah.
I think where I see you just becoming like the Sunset Australia, sunset in Los Angeles, and they go and look at properties.
Yeah.
It's very hard because people don't want to be on camera. And that's kind of like you have an opportunity. Like I had a painter, he wanted to do SEO like you. Remember you called me and said SEO? What did I say? Don't do SEO, forget SEO. How many SEOs are going to call that they're trying to talk you out of doing it? And I'm like, dude, SEO is like, look, can it benefit you? Yeah, you can, right? But wait till you got like a team of 10, 15 people and you've already got a massive brand, and Michael Lezaja actually is tenfold where you are now, then I'll tweet it to us.
Yeah.
At the moment, I was like, this guy's really intelligent. You're in the same situation I was in 2018. Don't do SEO. You're going to burn money. Go focus on where the low-hanging fruit is and pump all the money into Facebook ads and Instagram and YouTube. Right?
Yeah.
So where I can see is like same thing I said to the painter. He called me up, same thing as you. Said, hey, man, like, I want to do SEO. I'm like, no, you don't. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, go to every single job. It's RX_painters. We did a podcast on Strictly Business on another podcast of mine. He grew his profile. Now, I just gave him that direction. I don't take any credit for his growth from like 100 people to like what he's got now, like 12,000.
Wow.
But all he did was go to every single job like he was going to do anyway and film it. And he doesn't even really talk in his videos. He goes on Instagram. He's like, I'm trying to nail YouTube, LinkedIn, Andrew. It's very tough. I'm like, because LinkedIn is a different mindset. You got to go there. Each social media platform has their own little kind of mini zeitgeist that you have to crack, right? But he went on Instagram and I said, what do you got? Show the primer, what you use. Show the paint that you use. Show the technique. Show the job as if someone that can just pick up a paint themselves and do it in their own house. Now, that kind of sounds counterintuitive, but guess what? We're all lazy fuckers and we ain't going to do it. Right? We're going to call you. I can watch you paint all day, dude. I ain't painting mine. So he just exploded, man. Like he just kept going and going, and he loved it. And then I told him in the podcast when I sold my apartment in 2019 to buy out in Southwest Sydney, they didn't have it because no one told me I could use equity, right, Mom? But I'm like, he was so busy. I said, look, I gave you that advice and you're killing it. Can you at least come and paint my balcony? It's only like 8 meters. It's probably 30 square meters, but they're like, just like the render. That was it. It would have taken him 2 hours. He's like, Andrew, I would, but I'm busy. He was that busy. He couldn't even come out. I'm like, dude, I'm going to pay him. I'll do a podcast for painting my balcony. We'll just, sounds awesome. Couldn't do it. He was too busy. Just from taking just something simple as going on Instagram and documenting and demonstrating his value and expertise.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Then he's like, what do I do next? I'm like, well, you're the tradie in the van. Why don't you start a podcast, get the tradies in the van? Get the bricklayer, get the girl, get the woman that's a bricklayer, that's a cup, get the female dynamic in, bring the painters, just talk shit. Bring 10 tradies Like you would, like what would you talk about at a pub? You're known as the tradie in the van. So put the podcast in the van with a few of your tradie friends and just record it, man. Don't think about any more than that. Don't think about production. Screw all that bullshit. Just be entertaining. Your job is to be entertaining. Full stop.
That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't done that yet, but he's I'm going to follow him up. But I think that's it because he's like, well, you nailed it with the Instagram advice. On the spot, dude, he didn't even tell me before the podcast, hey, I'm going to ask you this question I could have thought about. So he's trying to hammer me on the spot. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do. So how do people, going back to you, how do people, I just talked about my shit for a while, how do people, I spoke to a guru around here. He said, go and talk to the bank. And I'm like, all right. And then he did some numbers and realized I couldn't borrow anything. He's like, well, thank you very much. Call me back when you got equity. I've got equity, but I haven't called him back because I thought his attitude was pretty shitty on the phone. So what happens how do you approach, I mean, I guess you're already kind of buyer's agents more for investors. You're not really, you help people buy property the first time as well? Or is it just
easy?
Investment?
Yeah, super easy. So I think buying a property as a buyer's agent, I think that is a more time consuming part of the process over an investment, buyer's agent work. But it's something that's incredibly simple because it's a matter of the heart. It's not analytical. It's not based on investment, which takes time to learn, right? So someone just, doing a quick keyword search and telling you your keywords, that's a simple way of showing your keyword search that knowing the full back end of SEO is a totally different game. So that's kind of how property investment is. You've got to really understand, what constitutes a good return. You need to understand, a bit about money. You need to understand renovations. You need to understand the type of assets you need to acquire. You need to understand how to, pick a boom market. There's so much that goes into it. Whereas when you're buying a regular property for someone, let's say they want to move into a 2-bedroom apartment, they're a first home buyer, they got 750 grand. It's a matter of what they like and what they can afford in what area and just finding the best deal. I think and not knocking the buyer's agents that do it, but I think that's the most easiest form of being a buyer's agent. I think what I like doing is a little bit more complex, and I really love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, but definitely I think you need to nurture those clients because those clients who buy that first investment property, that first owner-occupier property as first home buyers, they will eventually have some equity. They will eventually, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the track, they will want an investment property. They could afford an investment property. They might want to invest later on in their super 5 years down the track, So I think that guy probably should have sort of helped you with a plan and sort of said, perhaps, you could look at other options as a guarantor. You could, you could still invest in a property for as little as X amount. If you do go interstate, we could find you something in the 300K category or whatever it may be. And if you leverage, you talk to a good broker, you might be able to get him with 5% deposit. Could be as little as 30 or 40 grand, gets you into an area that's quite affordable, but also has a good data set. He didn't really problem solve. For what reason, I don't know, but maybe he doesn't know himself. And it's just one of those things. Yeah. Well, he didn't care, see? So that's... Yeah,
so what I reckon, what a lot of buyers, a lot of people do anyway in the services industry is they'll have this Instagram ad. They'll bring you into a free sort of 30-minute video, and then they'll try to kind of sell you onto their service, right? I think something that again, if you're, I think the best way, look, that's going to work. Like the top mortgage brokers will do that. I've seen marketers do that. I've seen people selling courses like that. That whole funnel, it's nothing innovative. It's everyone does. Even the landing pages, everything looks the same, right? I reckon if you look at the biggest sort of influencers they don't have funnels. They just have really good entertaining content. I'm not dissing funnels. I'm not saying they don't work.
No.
But I'm a marketer, storyteller. Funnels is more sales orientated. I think you sort of taking some dopey idiot like myself.
Yeah.
And going, hey man, we're gonna journey this whole experience. Don't charge me nothing. I won't charge you anything. And just document Imagine having someone where you start like a journey with them now,
Mm.
and then like 3 years, 4, 5, maybe 7 years, you're still filming with them, and they're on their 7th property. It's going to be better than you appearing on Channel 7, man.
You know what? Let's talk about that after this, right? Let's talk about that. Let's
Not me,
discuss
but
that.
I'm
talking about you. I'm talking about you. Let's take you.
No, you can take anyone. Yeah.
But no, it's definitely a good idea. And I don't actually do that. I don't really have the sales call. I don't have the whole, identify the objections, get them to say yes, make sure they're the decision maker. Okay, here's the close. I don't do any of that. You either want to work with me or you don't. It's quite simple. I don't have time. I also tell people my fee straight up front. Bang, that's the fee.
You want to share your fees? How does the fee structure work?
My fees are going up. My fees are going up all the time. I'm getting super busy.
That's cool. Going. So normally, just if you want to give rough figures, like how does it work when you bought the property and we pay you as well as like, because most buyers, I don't know much about it. They're like 15 grand. Because I spoke to another guy once 4 years ago before.
Yeah.
He said, we just charge 15 grand flat fee. At the time.
15 grand flat fee. Yeah. That's what I used to charge as well. So with that 15 grand flat fee, we would charge $3,000 upfront plus GST. Mm-hmm. And then you pay the balance of that 15K fee when we're successful with a purchase. So that's how that works. And that's an engagement fee of $3,000 just to show that you're obviously committed so that we don't go and do a month's worth of work and look for this property. And then you turn around and go, hey, I found something, don't need you anymore. And off you go, right? So that's pretty much how that works. You can get buyer's agents from anywhere from, I don't know, I've heard of 8 or 9K all the way up to $20,000 for an investment buyer's agent. I think the main thing is to understand that, someone with a 9K fee may not have the experience as someone with an 18K fee. So you do get what you pay for. And if you value your entire investment portfolio at a few $1,000s, the difference between the two, well, then, that few thousand dictates your decision. But, you can't buy a Mercedes with Hyundai money, right?
Correct. Because I'm so obviously the first few investments is going to be 100% analytical and not emotional. And I'm like, I don't want to, one, I probably would never learn what you know. So in Europe, it's very common, I've been told, to use buyer's agents everywhere. Do you find that in the Australian market, is this something is a demand for buyer's agents growing? Because if you look at the news, it's sort of like they can't believe that people are still buying property because apparently the economy situation.
Well, that's good. We're going to come back to that. Okay. As far as buyer's agents go, I would use one. And I do use them and I do pay commissions to people who supply deals. So I do that. So if anyone has deals and they want to supply me with deals, you give me a deal and I'll pay you a commission on it out of my commission. The fact is, I can't have 26 million different contacts in the country or whoever knows someone who, even whether they're not real estate agents, they might know someone who's moving out of the street, but no one knows yet. And you could get it at a good deal or whatever, right? So you always, there's always someone who knows someone, and a good deal can be anywhere, and you've got to pay for that privilege. It's quite simple. That's the game.
No, that's cool. No, but what I was asking, that's good to know, right? So send all your referrals to Michael.
Yeah,
but what I was asking was like in Europe, like buyer's agents is like a I've been told, like you just do it, right? Like it's like of course we use a buyer's agent. As much as you get a real estate agent to sell your house, you get a buyer's agent to buy a house. In Australia, do you find that, I didn't even know what a buyer's agent was until like 7-8 years ago. So do you find that the demand for buyer's agents are increasing is what I was asking?
It is increasing. The industry has had a lot of exposure recently with all the courses that are out. A lot of people post-COVID have joined the buyer's agent space, and the buyers, people know what buyer's agents are. Back in the day, there was two buyer's agents, right? There was the buyer's agent who would work in the city for expensive rich people 10 years ago, and only a few people knew about them. And then there was the investment buyer's agents that were like, hey, I'm incredibly successful and I've done really well. And now I offer that service for, $6,000 or whatever it was back then, right? 10 years. Now there's buyer's agents representing many people simply from the perspective of people are missing out now. We have a scarcity of real estate in Australia. We have a shortage of supply. We have high demand. So average people going to buy homes are missing out. They could be one of 5, one of 10, one of 15, bidders or in a multiple offer scenario on a property. Now, having a buyer's agent will increase your chances of getting that done. 9 out of 10 times, if I'm in a multiple offer scenario, we will win that deal because I know how to negotiate it. I don't know about other buyer's agents, but I know that there's a very good chance that I'll get that. It's super rare that I miss out. Very rare. So that increases your chances of getting the property you want without losing it and then having to go through the process again. So I think that the answer to your question is becoming super common because the environment is dictating it.
Well, I want you to find me a property that you would buy yourself.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those. I actually find plenty of those, so but I can't buy everything for myself. So they do come up often, and there's some amazing profit in some of them.
I'll be like, here's a check for $550. Go and find me something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I bought my first property was apartment in Peakhurst, 1 bedroom.
Yeah.
Bought it for $540. Got the first home buyer thing. Didn't pay stamp duty, so it was $540 on the books. But what I had to pay was about $520. That was 2016 off the plan, and I don't recommend off the plan apartments. Not with the shonky builders that we have, right? If it's built right, fine. If it's not built, I know it's too much to gamble, man. I will never do it again, personally. But yeah, I sold it at the time for $480, and the real estate agent was a good mate of mine. He said, "Look, Andrew, do it." It sold again. So I sold in 2019. It sold again recently, and I'll send you the details if you care enough to have a look. Yeah. Once we finish, it sold again 5 years later, $480, and it was sold to an investor. She lived in it for a little while, and then she rented it out.
Yeah.
For the supply of the research that I realize is really important, not just obviously demand, but also the particular supply of apartments had gone through the roof in that particular locality. And I wasn't even thinking about when I bought the apartment. How many apartment blocks are going to be built? Is that something, is that a thing, or is that just maybe?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. So apartments off the plan are the worst. You're combining two of the worst property investments, right? Apartments having the least value because it has the least land component attached to that apartment. And so you're buying the worst investment, right? Because a townhouse is better and a house is better. And obviously a development site, a granny flat site, a development site, they're all better forms of property. It's like a bit of a hierarchy, and apartments are down the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you buy an apartment, but you're also buying brand new, which means that the developer squeezed every last cent out of it. He's making a profit. You're paying top dollar for that apartment in that area where you could have bought a secondhand one that's probably 30 years of age, probably for $200K or $250 at the time, and you were buying something for $480 brand new. The next 10 years, those things don't really grow. You look at that. Remember, Ian Thorpe bought an apartment on the Gold Coast for like $1 million in 2001. And then sold it like 10, 15 years later for the same money. Like right now in Queensland, everything's gone up recently, and apartments were in 2016 the worst thing you could have bought. But here's where
I bought high and sold low.
Exactly, but here's where the value lies. The value is not buying off the plan. It's kind of like buying a brand new Toyota Corolla off the showroom floor. It may be $32,000 or whatever they're worth. But if you can buy one that's 4 years old with 50,000 Ks on it, it's pretty much the same car if it's being looked after. But you can pay close to half the price. Now, half the price is where the value lies. So you can go do as many kilometers as you want, and the Corolla's going to go for 400 Ks. So when we look at off-the-plan apartments, there's one I'm looking at in Victoria right now because my buyer wants something relatively new and they don't want to buy, they don't have the budget for a house, and they like this because it's close to the city. Now, this is a brand new in 2014 built apartment, and the guy paid $440. We're buying it for $440 10 years later. The key is that in those 10 years, what's happened?
Infrastructure is growing.
Construction is growing. So inflationary environment, your dollar buys less in general when it comes to construction. So now, can you replace a 2-bedroom apartment for $440,000 like they bought it off the plan in 2014? No. So brand new 2-bedroom off the plan apartment is going to be $700K in Melbourne. So what we're doing is we're buying it in yesterday's money. Now, the apartment's still pretty much brand new. All right, the people are a little bit dirty, needs a bond clean, but it's still a relatively good, clean property that we're buying in yesterday's pre-COVID money. after construction costs post-COVID have gone up 50%. So when you think about it, you're actually buying it at a discount at the right time. It's about timing. And this is what people don't tell you about understanding real estate. Once you know real estate and it's your game, you can play it well. Now, that apartment isn't going to be the next thing that goes up, though. Listen to this. In a cycle, the first things that go up are houses. Then townhouses, then units. What happens is people start getting priced out and then they start to look for the next best thing and then they look for townhouses and then the apartments go up. And as the gap between the two increases during a property boom, then the next ones catch up, townhouse catches up, then apartment catches up. So it goes towards the end of a boom cycle or during a boom cycle, not at the start, but it will go up, but you have to buy the value. You probably hear me always say buy the value, and that's what it comes down to, is knowing when to spot that value. That's what a good buyer's agent will know.
If I can't just, I live on real estate.
It's a bit of a rant.
No, man. Mate, like, makes my job easier when you rant. It's better for my channel too. I live on realestate.com.au, and honestly, man.
No, stop that.
I know, right? I tell you why I need to stop it. I'm confused. And I'm like, the reason that I'm not, because I got pre-approved now, the pre-approval's over, right? 6 months is over. I've got to go back.
Yeah.
The bank's like, we found a property. Now, this bank, my brother's like a regional manager, and he's like, he knows that I'm kind of, so he's on me like, hey, anything I can do. I said, dude, please, thanks. I appreciate the follow-ups. Let me look, because I'm good. I'm like, you know what? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying anything. I'm confused.
Yeah.
This is all analytical. And that's what kind of put me off. By the value. Now,
you're me in 2010. You are me in 2010. Realestate.com up to 2 a.m. in the morning. And I could not find myself a deal if my life depended on it. Andrew, do you know how deals come about today? Hey,
real estate,
what do you got? What do you got? How much? Oh, it's 50K the value. Listen, I want it. Don't give it to anyone. I'll call you back. I'll just get the buyer. Bang, I'll call them back. Deal done. I don't even go.
All the leftovers are on realestate.com.au.
Leftovers, man, and people wanting top dollar. So realestate.com.au, here's a hint for anyone at home looking to understand how to find deals or how not to find deals. The people on realestate.com are vendors who pay the agent for the marketing. Now, an agent will get the vendor to pay for marketing so he can load it on realestate.com, typically anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000, right? Those people who have that money know the power in realestate.com. They'll put it online. The agent will go chase top dollar on the first open or second open, and they'll get top dollar. The stuff that we buy are from owners who don't pay marketing. We get it cheap, off market. Just the agent knows about it. He calls the buyer's agent because the buyer's agent's got the buyer. But the buyer's agent's got the buyer, and he does a quick, easy sale, but the buyer's agent wants it at a premium. So the ones on realestate.com are basically like a car yard, a used car yard, and they're looking for the big sticker price. But in reality, you need to be buying it at the auction. And you need to be paying less so you don't have the dealer's markup. That's essentially what realestate.com is, the dealer's markup. And we're buying it off market without that markup at the right price, buying the value.
Yeah, because that makes perfect sense. And I kind of thought about this because when my grandmother passed away, the dealings of how everything is like, because I pick up patterns and things, and I get suspect. I live in Bankstown, if you know what that is. So I've got this natural skeptical nature, right? And I'm like, this is all being played out in a scene here in the auction.
Yeah.
Pretend there's people here that are bidding. They maybe not be bidding. They're there for a show. And I'm like, I can just smell some weird shit going on here. Yeah. Was I smelling weird shit, or was it just my imagination?
Look, in real estate, I have seen some of the worst human behavioral characteristics that I've ever seen in my life in retail. The most pettiest, the most dodgiest. So definitely. And I have a security background. Like we're talking about, we've done security work, all across Sydney. And I'm telling you now that the shadiest characters I've met are in real estate, not in security work. So that should give you an example.
I think the biggest value you have to bring that I think you should talk about more, obviously you can do the deals, you can pay for the value, and all these things are important, but it's the relationships you guys have with agents.
Yep.
I'm really paying you money knowing that I know that I can learn the analytical work potentially, but the relationships takes the time. How to get an agent's going to trust you more than he's going to trust me. Why? Because you probably give him a couple of houses and I'm just going to pop up once. Maybe I won't see him ever again.
So he'll prioritize me. So you calling up and the way in which you talk. So if you ever hear me on the phone call to a new agent, the things that I say to them are based on what they want to hear. So they will have a way in which they're thinking. And it's my job to quickly ascertain what sort of an agent they are quickly on the phone by how they're speaking to me, and then understand to play to their psychology whilst I'm talking to them, to understand what they want, and then show them that I've got a client. We're going to structure the deal how they want. What does your vendor need? How many days settlement? Do you need a longer settlement? Do you need this? Do you need that? Okay, cool. Let me get that done. I can get that done for you. And you're making someone's life easier. It's got nothing to do with the price. It's all got to do with what does the agent want and what does his vendor want. It's convenience. So you're solving problems. Remember, what's that saying? You get solved. You get paid based on the problems you solve.
Exactly.
So that's how that works, my friend.
And there's a reason why McDonald's sells the most hamburgers, yeah?
Yeah.
It's convenience, bro, right? And they're the biggest real estate company in all. They're everywhere, right? So what would you say for someone, and we can, I don't know how long you got to go, but what would you say to someone, what tips would you give someone looking to buy their first property now if the banker said no? Would you have to build them a plan? Would you have to look at the individual circumstances? Obviously, you probably have to look at the individual circumstances. But if the banker said no to them, let's say buying, what's an average house in Southwest Sydney? Let's just go off Southwest. About $1,950,000 looking at a house?
1.1, yeah. 1.1 for Sydney. Right now, if you don't have 1.1 for Sydney, but your broker has given you 650, buy an investment property, stay at home, rent where you're renting a room, have a roommate, whatever it is that your situation is, do that. Buy an investment property elsewhere that's backed by a good data set. And if you don't know how to do that, I can do that for you. A good buyer's agent can do that for you. Find someone who understands data and then go and buy that investment for $600,000 somewhere else. And if you're struggling with that, and you can't get the $600,000 property, you can still buy something for $400,000, right? Is that the
rent vesting model?
Rent vesting. So that means rent where you want to live. If you want to live in Bondi, go rent yourself a room in Bondi with a friend, rent a 2-bedroom unit, and it's way cheaper than owning a property in Sydney. You get to live in Sydney, you work in Sydney, you make your money in Sydney, but you still invest somewhere else where it's more affordable and the data set is great, and that property is poised to go up in value. And it's probably already going up in value if you buy the right data set and it's a hot market. So you can make money from day one.
I think that's brilliant, man. And then obviously, for a first investment, I'm so stuck because I'm being dictated by budget. I'm thinking Queensland because Olympics, infrastructure will be built, thinking about the long term. Look what happened to Sydney in 2000. Sydney exploded after the Olympics because, first before in the 90s. Sydney was very different in the 90s as it was in the early noughties, right? Is that intelligent thinking, or is that just me thinking, Sydney was just a one-time phenomenon, but it won't happen again necessarily in Brisbane just because of the Olympics?
Believe it or not, you're not the first person that I hear telling me about the Olympics. Everyone loves the idea of the Olympics, and you know what's interesting is you're totally right. Sydney did experience a boom, and it happened after the Olympics. But what if I told you it wasn't the Olympics that was the driver? We had no boom. We had no price warfare. Pretty much limited price rises, okay? Obviously, from an area perspective is different to a Sydney macro perspective. But, the last boom before that was in the late 80s. So it was really, 12 years until Sydney had that boom in the 2000s. So, look, I don't believe Brisbane is growing because, people are moving here because of the Olympics. I think, look, we analyze 15 key metrics of data. They're mostly it's supply and demand, and people are moving here for a lifestyle. I think, and I'm telling you now, you would know someone, and I say this in every Zoom call, you would know someone that knows someone that's moved to Queensland in the last 3-4 years, right? Everyone knows someone. And those people have family. They visit them. They all of a sudden see it's nice. Hey, I like it. I enjoy my holidays up here. Well, guess what? I could quit my job, or I could, work from Zoom, or I can, sell my house and buy something cheaper up here. So that's what's been happening. People are moving here for lifestyle. And the people that are on the Gold Coast and Brisbane and Sunshine Coast, they sell to people from down south, and then they move up north. There's a constant moving north. So it's not stopping. It's not stopping. And right now, Cairns, Townsville, they're all the hotspots right now in Queensland. So if you're going to get in, that's the tip for everyone that's listening. It's definitely those areas, because those areas are, have amazing data sets, and look, they're so affordable still. So
I've got one question that I don't want to keep drilling you, right?
Go for it.
And you plugged my first episode with the Bloodsport guy before we started recording, which I want you to go back to that question. I don't know what that question was. So would it be better to look for a property where you can subdivide the land in a further out, like let's say my budget is like 600, right?
Yeah.
Is it better for me to find a big property that I can subdivide further out regional?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it better to buy a townhouse closer to the city if it's like Sydney or Melbourne?
Neither. Your best bet is to buy a house with the best data set in the best area possible, with the most diverse economy, that is poised for growth. And there's a combination of metrics that align and are trending in the right direction. And maybe we use hashtag. I will send you the link of the data platform we use. There's nothing better than this data platform in Australia right now. And you can literally use that to pick your hotspot. And it's absolutely amazing. So
you're going to pick my hotspot.
Right now, you are, look, if you're medium term, it's Melbourne. If you are short term, hit and run, I need to see some money in the next 18 months, it's Cairns and Townsville.
Okay. Because I was looking at buying my first investment based being more long term, because I'm thinking my super, but then I think it was you that mentioned to me, isn't it better that you buy something small and build up quicker?
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, actually, that obviously that's going to appeal to me, right? But not trying to be greedy or trying to get rich quick kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was more thinking, well, I've dumped all of the money in the last 14 years of business, or 12 years, into my company. So I'm thinking, like, I've put no super, right? Because I was a sole trader for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I just dumped everything back into the business, I made nothing, and I put no super, right? So I'm thinking, said to my wife, we need an nest egg towards the, like, if I get to like retirement age, I want to buy a property because I actually enjoy it. I don't even care about the making the money part, but you kind of need, I just love Monopoly. You ask anyone in my family, I love Monopoly since I was 6. I should have got it. I love property development. I love all that shit. Maybe that's another time, right? But I'm like, when you mention that to me, I'm like, maybe that's a better way of doing it. Maybe it's like I don't know. That my question was more to do with, okay, if I need to make money quick, is that still a good trajectory to be on if I was thinking about initially buying an investment for super?
So what I think is buy a good property in an area with a good data set that's poised for growth, right? But why can't we, if we can, squeeze in that property that you can actually subdivide? Because I love that X factor, right? So wherever I can add that to the purchase as well with a good data set, that's ideal. And then, so we can subdivide. We can, we can buy it cheaper because the tenants maybe haven't looked after it. We'll do the flooring, we'll do the paint, right? Which is simple. You can get a local handyman, the property manager will know someone, get it painted. Your uncle?
My Uncle Jim will come and renovate the whole property.
That's it. So Jim's we're calling Jim. Jim's coming out.
Jim's coming.
And then, get that done. And you've got that little nest that you can turn. Like right now, we've got one that we're buying in Brisbane where you can turn one property to 2. It's 1,000 square metre subdividable block of land. You keep the house and you can build it on the back as well. So those sorts of things I love the most, but they're hard to get and they tend to cost a premium. So after the 14 or 13 interest rate rises that we had, those sorts of properties tend to be heavily negative or a lot more negative on cash flow on a week-to-week basis. And that's why people tend to steer away from them. Only people that with deep pockets can usually,
especially if you're going to subdivide. And I'm going to tell you, well, okay, you buy me a property that I can subdivide or build a granny flat in the backyard, right, for dual income. But that won't happen until I've got the equity from this purchase to be able to do that anyway.
Exactly.
So, and once I paid it down. So, you got to, I guess there's a lot of various things to look at. But that's why you get someone like you, Michael.
100%. So what we need is you need to tell me your goals. Once you tell me your goals, and you could say, hey, my mortgage is X. Get rich quick. So you're going to Cairns quickly. That's what I think.
Cairns? Is that how far away is that from Townsville? Is that like
not far?
Not far.
Not far. It's in the same region.
I heard everyone's going to Perth, man. Everyone's buying props in Perth, and I hear that like Perth. You got to go Perth, Adelaide, Perth, Adelaide, Perth, Adelaide. Brisbane's sort of ran its course.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, we did. We went to Perth. 2022 was the time to go to Perth. 2022 we went to Perth and we bought. And once again, buying the value. We went to Perth and we bought a $300,000 property, and it was $300. So see, here's a good tip for spotting value. When you see everything's gone up, you see Brisbane, Sydney, and then you go to Perth and you see a $300,000 3-bedroom brick veneer home on a 700 square meter corner block, right? That's value for money, because it would cost you $300,000 just to cut that block up, pay your council contributions, your civil works, etc., etc. But yet we're getting a 3-bedroom home with a concrete slab and brick veneer concrete slab home on that block, which costs $300,000 to build. So when you're buying it for $300,000 and the activity's there, vacancy rates low, rents are skyrocketing, there's plenty of people at the open houses, all the data and metrics align, that house has nowhere to go but up. Nowhere. And on top of that, we buy it under market value, and we do the renovation and
so there's other sort of data sets you look at outside of just plain old infrastructure growth.
Oh yeah, it's not just infrastructure. I believe it or not, infrastructure growth is one of them, but it's not the be all and end all. No. Have a look at Mount Druitt. Like how much? Like, let's talk about infrastructure. Let's talk about crime rates. Let's talk about Department of Housing homes. There's plenty of metrics that people will look at. Olympic Games, plenty of metrics that people will look at, but they help a minute amount, but not a great deal, right? Mm-hmm. So if crime rates were a problem, so I'm from Ingleburn, right? So Macquarie Fields wouldn't be $800,000 now for just a regular shitbox of a house, right? If crime rates were a problem, right, it would have stayed at 200, but they don't. They don't affect it. Someone will always move in there. Like Mount Druitt, I wouldn't see myself living in Mount Druitt, but I tell you, the house that I bought there for $190,000 went to $800,000. So, and you look back on it, and you'd want to buy 10 of them. But I tell you what, I wouldn't buy 10 of the Bondi units I had, but I'd buy 10 Mount Druitts. Because why? Because they're positive cash flow, and they went up the same equivalent as the Bondi unit went up in value over the course of time that I held it. But the Bondi unit cost me money to hold. The Mount Druitt property put money in my pocket and was positive cash flow at the time. So really, lower socioeconomic properties are way better than blue chip. The blue chip investment for regular people, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So don't let anyone tell you, go pay an extra $300,000 to be in a better area just so you can be next to a school district or whatever. That's a complete fallacy, man. That's a complete lie. It doesn't work out.
That's more emotional necessarily than analytical.
From an investment perspective, there are spruikers out there that will tell you buy blue chip because you need to buy a good school zone because that's where prices go up from. So that's their pitch, right?
You told me. Sorry, go on. You mentioned about positive. I mentioned to you positive cash flow. I can't remember what you said. That will be ideal for me, right? Like number one, right?
As close to positive cash flow as possible. But here's the trick. If you found something, interest is too high. So after the 14 rate rises that we've had, you are going to have some negatives. So let's say we go buy you something, and once we do the cash flow spreadsheet and all the analysis, it comes back at $150 a week negative. You have to wear that for the first year. So you wear that for the first year. Within 12 months, rents will go up another $50 in Queensland. So that leaves you at about, in 12 months, let's say $100 negative. You get a couple of rate cuts, mate, you're down to $40 or whatever you are. Minus your tax back, you're at neutral. You're at neutral somewhere between 12, 18 months, 12, 18, 24 months. You could be neutral, and then you're positive after that as rents go up again. So it's looking for that, just dealing with that little bit of pain for that long-term gain, because running around all across Australia now looking for those mad positive cash flow properties, they don't exist like they used to. When I built my portfolio in 2013, I bought Sydney and Brisbane exclusively, and my portfolio was a 7.5% yield positive cash flow. That doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
So we just have to accept that fact, and we just have to play the game accordingly.
Do you think it'll go back? Do you think it will go back to the...
If rate cuts go all the way down, if this economic crisis is going to be big, rate cuts are going to come down. Rate cuts are coming. Interest rates are going to go down, and definitely a lot more properties are going to be a lot cheaper to hold. So we are going to see price rises again. We're going to see price rises in all the areas that currently have good data sets and are in demand. That's not going to change.
So you don't think
that's sub 1 million category in Sydney, that's Queensland, that's Perth. They're all going to continue.
Well, inflation is your best friend, right, in property, yeah? When you've got them, right? So would you say that people, because they're facing difficult times, do you think there'll be more property available, which will bring down the supply potentially?
They say that. They've been talking about that for a while. Do you remember about a year or two, remember everyone was talking about how, Australia's in for a massive crash because all these people are coming off their fixed term loans. Do you remember that? Do you remember that like a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
And I used to tell everyone that's not going to happen. And look now, it hasn't happened. So people will adapt. They will work another job. They will save on Netflix. They will cut things to pay for a roof over their head and to pay for food. Human nature is very resilient.
Yeah. And property, like a roof over your head is your number one priority. Security, right?
Exactly.
Number one priority.
So
Michael, I could keep talking to you, mate. Like, I feel like you need to drill me in some questions if you like. Or maybe it's a part two.
You know what? I definitely think you need to go get your pre-approval, and we need to have a proper chat.
Yeah,
I know a buyer's agent that can help you.
Yeah, I know. It's not. Yeah, it'd be 100%. It'll be you, mate. But it's just getting over the mental roadblocks, which I'll give you some more details later. But yeah, generally it's something that I was going to do. I have to do because I've got no or very little super. So because I put everything into the company, I'm not prepared to take out savings and dump it in super. I'd rather put it into property. I'm a control freak. I can control property. I can't. It's harder to control my super. I know I can get self-managed. I'd rather. My brother was like, self-managed, 4 years grown 400,000 short in like 10 years. I'm like 10 years grown by 400,000. But the equity in my home has grown in 4 years by 400,000.
Exactly, buddy. Exactly.
Right. So for me, I feel more. I love Monopoly. I feel more comfortable with property.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
You sound like someone though that would want to buy near their area.
Because I'm a control freak and I want to see the property, but I know I can't afford it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
because in your area, you'd have to buy something if you can find something for 700. Is there any townhouses for 700? Once again, we're still doing the wrong strategy. Like I still don't agree with this, but it's something that makes you comfortable and you still get further ahead by investing than not investing. If there's one thing we've learned, being out of the market ultimately costs you more wherever you are. So I think here's the thing. What if I get a little bit deep with you? Look at life, right? Look at life. What if life is just a big game of Monopoly? You said you like Monopoly. What if life's just a big game of Monopoly, right? So you can't remember where you were before this. You don't know where you're going after this, but you're here for 70 years or so. Mate, play the game. Don't. I've never heard anyone that's 70 on a deathbed go, fuck, I bought too much property. You know what? I shouldn't have done that. So what I'm saying to you is, man, play the game.
Safer
for better or worse. For better or worse, everything comes out of your. All the gains come from being out of your comfort zone, whatever they may be, my friend. I see you wearing a fitness watch. You're looking fit, you're looking sharp, mate. That comes from going out of your comfort zone. Everyone wants to stay at home on the couch and eat pizza. That's me describing me, by the way. Mate, play the game while you're here. You're here for a short time.
You can't get push-ups thinking about it.
You can't get pregnant by not doing it.
Well, sometimes I wish it would take a bit longer than what it did. But going deep and personal, yeah. I just naturally love it. Like I did the stock thing. I made a little bit of coin on that because I saw Commonwealth Bank shares drop into $58, and I knew. I'm like, I got to jump on that. Did I invest as much as no, because I was about to press enter, Michael, on a lot of pretty much nearly on all of my money, just straight into. And at that time, I went to $65 a share, and I'm like, said to my wife, I need to do it. I blame her. I didn't have the testicular fortitude to be able to pull it off. I had the numbers. The numbers were pressed.
Yeah.
I couldn't get to that submit button. And if I did, I would have easily have bought a whole property and go.
Yeah.
It's selling it at $134 a share. Now, would I ever buy shares again? No, I won't. I just saw a really good deal, and I'm like, $58 Commonwealth Bank. And I even said to myself, if Commonwealth Bank drops completely, then I'm going to lose my money either way.
Yeah.
I do it. Conservative nature. We go back to the childhood, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've just been trained to not want to take risks. But,
And we are a product of our parents' molding, the way in which the way in which they behave. We pick up a lot of those traits, believe it or not, and sometimes for better or worse, whatever it is. But the way in which we were raised and all the things that we learned are not our fault, but it's our fault if we hang on to them and keep them. Because as an adult, you have the ability to reprogram yourself and change yourself and get out of the comfort zone and learn different things. And with the internet today, there's so much to learn. I mean, there's a guy teaching me about SEO on his page. So, I mean, there's people out there teaching things. And I think you just got to take the step, man. I'd love to see you get a cracking deal. I'd love to see that.
Thanks, man. And I'm sure we will do something. But even like doing the podcast, thinking the judge, like you do think about the negatives. People do want to write in the comments, you're full of shit, you don't know what you're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. And I always think to myself, if you're going to get in the game, be prepared for the criticism. Otherwise, sit back in the stands and watch everyone else play and then criticize the players.
Yeah.
So if you're going to put yourself out there, no matter whatever capacity, you're going to expect the haters, because at the end of the day, you're going to spark up insecurities and others, which is going to generate the hate.
Yes. So what happens is there are people that will comment on things, and I'll read the comment a lot of times, and you can see that they don't actually know. They're speaking from another one is you're an investor. You're taking all the rent. You're driving the cost of living up, right? That one, from an educated perspective and understanding the way in which it works, government policy, how property investment and the general property market works, I know that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And I literally can't even be bothered replying, because there's no way I can educate this guy in just one text. He might not even be willing to receive it. So I literally don't give a flying fuck. And the best thing I've learned as I get older is to not give a fuck. That is the greatest thing you can learn in life.
Unless your name is Jesus Christ, you can't save the world, bro. So
exactly.
So at the end of the day, man, it's like the same thing with SEO. Like people call me, I give them free advice. They're very skeptical even on meetings. Hey, look, at this point, not to sound arrogant, but I feel like you need me more than I need you at this point in my life. So take the advice and do whatever you will. I'm happy to give it. You see me, man, I give it away all the time, right? Yeah. Because I know they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. You know how hard it is to get links? You know how hard it is to rank for something like Buyer's Agent Sydney or Real Estate Agent Sydney, or even more competitive like Engagement Rings. You know, I've did it for one jeweler for years. It's really tough. It's really tough. It's brutal. Yeah. And now you've got a market where everyone understands the value of SEO, where I kind of was dominating a lot more in ignorance, and it's a lot difficult now, the game. So because there's not so much ignorance about it, people know about SEO. People call me all the time. Well, I say 20 things on content for social media, people still call me about SEO. SEO. No. You said one thing about SEO, about how do I get this, or how do I build links, or tell me about the Google algorithm, the last updates and the tweaks. And I'm like, I know I'm not going to get nothing out of them, but I tell them anyway. Yeah. Because this is my character. Yeah. And I can't scale me. So I'm like, I know my company, I'm going to reach a certain factor, a certain level, because I can't scale the way I want to do it. I'm happy doing this way, but I can't scale. Very hard to. So it's got to be property, Michael. For me, it's going to be property. If I'm going to build wealth, that's where it's going to be.
it's the ultimate vehicle, my friend. That's my opinion, and it's been great because I was in the stock market as well, and I'm never going back. I don't trust it. It's too liquid.
You got 50 properties, mate. Like, what do you want to get? How much do you want, bro? How much? You're already on the monopoly guy, bro.
I want to go back. I want to go back and get my 20K that they took from me in 2007.
One step backwards.
It is what it is, brother. But really good to see you today, brother.
Same to you. What was your question about the blood sport? You wanted to ask me something,
mate?
Is there anything?
He was a nice guy. He was just a genuine bloke.
Unbelievably kind, man.
Yeah.
I even sent him the email putting the subject line, I doubt you're going to reply to this. But my name is this, and I'm starting a podcast, and I watched this movie literally like 7,000 times. I knew he had a very low profile. He actually commented on a video I was watching about Bloodsport. It was another podcast. He commented and said, I played Hossein, and I do magic tricks for kids. And I'm like,
wow.
Hey, what's the worst you're going to say? No? Or not even reply to my email? Dude, I must admit, I've talked to a lot of people. One of the kindest, genuine people I've ever talked to. And I had this whole thing in my head, like he's not going to reply. He's going to be like, he's not going to work well. I'm not going to ask the right questions. Dude, he just talked the whole time. He's like, I'm sorry, but I'm talking the whole time. I'm like, dude, this is why I want you here. Nobody wants to listen to me. You're the Bloodsport guy. We want to talk to you, man. We want to listen to you. And the stories, and he's like, I can tell you more. And even after, I'm like, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to get him back. He's got even more stories. And he's got his relate. I'm going to get him and that the guy that did the Thai boxing.
Yeah.
I want to get him on. Dude,
so you're in charge of the reunion. You're going to be organising the reunion.
Well, did you watch the end where, I don't know if it's recorded, but he said, I don't know if it's recorded. He's like, can you start the Bloodsport reunion? I'm like, dude, I don't think Van Damme's going to reply to my messages.
You know what? Okay, listen, we're talking about this now on podcast. I want you to email Van Damme. Let's do this. Email Van Damme. Let's do it. Let's get that response. You
know who I emailed? You know the guy that played Tong Po and Kickboxer? Didn't reply back. I messaged Paco on Instagram, didn't reply back. But I think with Bernard, if he sends it to them, they can see, well, this guy's not an idiot. He's already interviewed. Bernard talks to a few of them. He doesn't talk to Van Damme. He used to talk to Bolo, which was my favorite character in the whole thing. Now, I used to watch all these movies. I used to go to the video shop as a kid and be like, I want all the Bolo Young movies. All of them, which were shit, but I watched them anyway. I'd love to get him on, would be my number one. Better for me, Van Damme. I think the character is not going to work with me but the Bolo guy. Yeah. And if I have a reunion, I'll get you on. You can help me co-host. We're in, mate. Done. You're the moderator. Thanks so much, Michael. Where can people find you and contact you if they need to buy a property in Australia? Yep. So pinnaclebuyeragents.com.au, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We have a podcast as well. It's released weekly on Spotify and YouTube. You can't not find me. I'm the only Michael Lezaja in the country. So if I owe you money, you know where to get me. Legend. Thank you so much for joining me, man. And hopefully we can do this again in the not too distant future. Thank you so much, brother. Thanks, care. Michael. See you, mate. Bye.